In the opening scene of the movie, we witness a chilling laboratory where reptiles, afflicted with alarming growths, slither amidst the lifeless bodies of scientists. Meanwhile, Korean Dr. Yang Jisoo persists in his efforts to resurrect his daughter using an enigmatic serum. Suddenly, the police, alerted to the deranged experiment, storm into the laboratory. Despite their warnings that his pursuits have claimed over 100 lives, Yang Jisoo remains resolute. Undeterred, Yang Jisoo administers the serum to his daughter just as the police open fire, ultimately bringing him down. As they move to apprehend him, Seoul is rocked by a powerful earthquake, plunging the situation into further chaos. 3 years elapse, and Seoul morphs into a desolate wasteland. Those fortunate enough to endure spend their days scavenging for sustenance and water, tracking the scarce remaining wildlife. Among these survivors is Choi Ji-won, a hunter who encounters a massive crocodile prowling the streets one fateful day. Taking aim with his bow, Ji-won strikes the creature, only to witness its resurrection moments later, initiating a harrowing pursuit. Seeking refuge in a nearby vehicle, Ji-won finds himself trapped as the relentless reptile breaches the car's defenses. Thankfully, his uncle Nam-san swiftly intervenes, dispatching the threat. Meanwhile, Han Suna and her grandmother reminisce about pre-apocalyptic life, navigating a world where trust is a luxury. They resolve to journey to the bustling bus district, where survivors congregate, knowing Nam-san will be present. In the bustling market, Nam-san and Ji-won barter crocodile meat for essential goods, dismissing offers of jewelry as obsolete in the new reality. Despite resistance, one optimistic woman insists on the future value of adornments, prompting Ji-won to advocate acceptance of the transformed world, exchanging the tail for a live snake. As Han Suna and her grandmother arrive, they are warmly welcomed, expressing gratitude to Nam-san for safeguarding Han Suna's life in the past. In a heartfelt exchange, the grandmother gifts her scarf, receiving a painting in return, and procuring several good pieces of meat. However, tranquility is shattered when a menacing gang infiltrates the district, searching for a specific individual. Spotting Han Suna, one of the thugs, Jo Pung-gi, attempts to seize her, prompting Ji-won to intervene. Despite facing brutality, Nam-san's formidable intervention quashes the gang's aggression, asserting dominance with his bare hands. After capturing Jo Pung-gi, Nam-san interrogates him and discovers that the gang leader is his old enemy, Tiger. Additionally, he finds a bottle of clean water on Jo Pung-gi, who reveals that he obtained it from a distant high-rise building. Nam-san sends a message to Tiger, warning that any further intrusion into their neighborhood will be met with severe consequences, prompting the bandits to depart in fear. Meanwhile, a woman with valuable jewels develops a romantic interest in Nam-san after witnessing his bravery, but he leaves the market without reciprocating her feelings due to fear. Upon returning home, Nam-san and Choi Ji-won discuss the idea of visiting the high-rise building, which is a coveted destination for survivors. However, Nam-san isn't enthusiastic about the suggestion. Passing by Han Suna's house, they encounter a woman who identifies herself as a teacher and volunteer leader, accompanied by well-dressed men persuading Han Suna to join them with promises of clean water and food. Despite their initial suspicions, the men decide to accept the stranger's offer for the chance of a better life. Choi Ji-won promises to visit Han Suna, who gifts him her portrait as a farewell gesture. In the evening, Choi Ji-won feels remorseful for letting Han Suna go, but Nam-san reminds him of the dangers in the wasteland and the impossibility of always being there to help her. Choi Ji-won proposes a daring plan for Nam-san to marry the woman with the jewels and adopt him, enabling them to settle in the high-rise building and be close to Han Suna. However, Nam-san vehemently opposes the idea. To distract themselves, the men embark on a night hunt. As Han Suna, her grandmother, and their companions press on toward their destination, they are joined by several other families with children who are also filled with fear. It's during this leg of the journey that Han Suna encounters a fellow traveler named Lee Yo-yi. Discovering that they are both 18 years old, they quickly strike up a friendship. As Han Suna's grandmother and another elderly man become too fatigued to continue, the teacher suggests sending them to the infirmary for rest. As two men escort the elderly individuals in a different direction, two cars suddenly materialize before the rest of the group. The teacher explains that the vehicles have arrived for them, prompting Han Suna to question why her grandmother wasn't taken along if the cars were nearby. Despite Han Suna's concern, the teacher reassures her that her grandmother will be alright. However, the situation quickly takes a sinister turn as the men lead the weary elders to a nearby ravine and take drastic action. Nam-san and Choi Ji-won, who are hunting nearby, notice something awry and attempt to intervene by shooting arrows at the men, but they inexplicably regenerate, much like the crocodile. Despite their valiant efforts, they find themselves unable to vanquish the strange men, who persistently revive after each attack. Suddenly, a girl named Lee Yun-ho comes to their aid, enabling them to finally incapacitate the men. After laying Han Suna's grandmother to rest, Nam-san and Choi Ji-won inquire about Lee Yoon-ho's identity and her knowledge of these peculiar adversaries. Lee Yoon-ho reveals that she formerly served as an Air Force sergeant, and following the catastrophic earthquake, her unit embarked on a mission to locate survivors. They stumbled upon a resilient house where survivors, including Han Suna's family, had congregated. Together, they endeavored to drill a well for groundwater and reconstruct the dwelling. However, their sanctuary was disrupted when Yang Jisoo, the lone surviving doctor, emerged. Initially perceived as a beacon of hope, suspicions arose as children failed to return after visiting him. Lee Yoon-ho delved into the matter and uncovered Yang Jisoo's clandestine experiments, which conferred upon individuals the ability to withstand grave injuries, thereby facilitating their perpetual survival. The doctor had captured all of Lee Yoon-ho's comrades and had also extended an offer to include her in his experiments, but she managed to escape. Now, she seeks assistance to liberate her people from Yang Jisoo's clutches. However, Nam-san insists on prioritizing the rescue of Han Suna. Lee Yoon-ho discloses that the deranged doctor requires children for his experiments, which is why they abducted Han Suna. She proposes a strategy to infiltrate the building, advocating for the rescue of her people first, as their assistance would facilitate Han Suna's extraction. En route to the multi-story building, Nam-san, Choi Ji-won, and Lee Yoon-ho make a detour to Tiger's hideout, where members of his gang are embroiled in a savage brawl. Ultimately, Nam-san confronts Tiger, an old adversary from their days in the ring. Tiger, now relegated to street fights without rules due to Nam-san's actions, stands face to face with his former rival. The gang launches an assault against the intruders, but they manage to overpower dozens of armed thugs, including Tiger himself, utilizing only their combat skills. Among the bandits' belongings, they discover a cache of weapons and potable water, prompting them to demand an explanation regarding its origins. After Nam-san subdues all the uncooperative bandits, Tiger decides to come clean. He discloses that the military occupying the multi-story building controls all the water, and his gang receives it in exchange for the people they provide. Initially, the military took everyone, but now they only demand children and teenagers. Nam-san insists on being taken to the building immediately, but Tiger explains that entry is only permitted on the days designated for the delivery of abducted individuals. Meanwhile, Han Suna and the other captives arrive at the same building. They are welcomed by jubilant residents, and Yang Jisoo emerges to assure them of their safety and provision of necessities. The newcomers are given bottles of clean water and settled into spacious, pristine apartments, much to Han Suna's disbelief. Han Suna seeks information about her grandmother's arrival time, and the teacher reassures her that she will be brought by evening. Later, Yang Jisoo announces the students' final grades to the eager parents, with the family of the top-scoring student receiving the best apartment and various privileges. This revelation baffles the newcomers, and the long-term residents clarify the significance of the ranking system. The teacher subsequently informs the newcomers that the students reside on the 8th floor separately from their families but can arrange occasional visits. Unsuspecting parents gladly send their children with the woman, following the soldier to a dim basement where adults tirelessly filter water for their offspring. Upon the arrival of the new girls, bringing the total number of children at the base to 19, the teacher promptly reports to Yang Jisoo. The teacher then introduces the newcomers to the class, and Han Suna immediately notices something amiss with the other teenagers, all of whom bear a peculiar scar behind their ears. During the lesson, they delve into discussions about human anatomy, with the teacher elucidating Dr. Yang Jisoo's ambition to engineer a novel metabolic system enabling survival without water and food. This, he believes, is essential for the revival of humanity and the establishment of a new civilization. Han Suna musters the courage to question why Yang Jisoo doesn't extend water provisions to those outside the house. The teacher, struggling to contain her frustration, reveals that due to individuals like them, Yang Jisoo lost his daughter. To be considered for inclusion in the new humanity, one must pass a selection process and assist in the doctor's research. In contrast to Han Suna's cautious skepticism, Lee Yo-yi reacts enthusiastically to the unfolding events, pledging her unwavering support to Yang Jisoo's cause. Midday arrives, and soldiers enter the classroom, distributing bottles of clean water and containers with lunch to the students. Yang Jisoo then makes his entrance, emphasizing the importance of conserving food and water and encouraging the students to consume everything without waste. The teacher singles out Lee Yo-yi and suggests to the doctor that she be the next candidate for the upcoming experiments. Han Suna, still concerned about her grandmother, seeks clarification from the teacher, who explains that her grandmother's condition has deteriorated, necessitating a prolonged stay in the infirmary. Under the cover of night, Han Suna clandestinely exits her room, embarking on a journey to explore the enigmatic building further. She eventually finds herself in Yang Jisoo's office, where she discovers his diary, chronicling the doctor's myriad experiments, many of which have ended in failure. As Han Suna enters another room, she discovers a laboratory where Li Yo-yi lies connected to numerous tubes and wires, her head secured by a strange metallic device. Han Suna realizes with horror that the unfortunate girl has become the latest victim of one of the doctor's deranged experiments. Meanwhile, in the work area during a shift change, Li Yo-yi's parents inquire about seeing their daughter. The guard, taken aback, informs them that meetings between children and parents are prohibited. However, the parents insist, referencing the teacher's earlier remarks. The doctor is summoned, and he assures them that their daughter is well, proposing a meeting in his laboratory. Suddenly, Han Suna hears approaching footsteps. Moments later, Yang Jisoo enters the office with the girl's parents, and Han Suna barely manages to conceal herself before they enter the laboratory. The doctor attempts to placate the shocked parents, explaining that Li Yo-yi is merely fulfilling her obligations because there is something special about children her age that aids him in his quest to create an immortal being. Despite his explanations, the parents remain unconvinced and demand the release of their daughter. Yang Jisoo moves aside a cabinet, revealing a glass box containing his daughter, or rather, what remains of her. He enthusiastically proclaims that he managed to revive her from the afterlife by restarting her heart, purportedly validating his pursuit of eternal life. The parents, horrified, rush to Li Yo-yi's side and attempt to free her, but the girl begins convulsing. Terrified, Yang Jisoo frantically tries to adjust the equipment to salvage the experiment, but Li Yo-yi's condition deteriorates rapidly, and she soon succumbs. The doctor, devoid of sympathy, expresses only anger at the experiment's failure. In a fit of rage, he lunges at the girl's father with sharp scissors. The mother attempts to flee the laboratory, but she is shot by a soldier. Han Suna, witnessing the horrifying scene, tries to remain silent, but the doctor discovers her presence, gleefully anticipating the opportunity to resume his experiments. Before long, Han Suna is forced to take Li Yo-yi's place, as the doctor explains that the pituitary gland of children contains vital components for his research, which must be refined with the water they consume. Despite her desperate inquiries about her grandmother, the doctor callously reveals that there was no infirmary and asserts that the weak must be eradicated for the dawn of a new humanity. Meanwhile, Namsan, Choi Ji-won, Lee Yoon-ho, Tiger, and his associates arrive at the multi-story building. They are met by perplexed guards, baffled by Tiger's unorthodox visit on a non-delivery day. As the guards scrutinize the vehicle, Namsan launches a preemptive attack. As Namsan breaches the checkpoints and barrels into the entrance, the team engages in a fierce firefight with the guards. The teacher recognizes some of the assailants from Han Suna's abduction and informs Yang Jisoo, who dismisses her concerns, confident that the military will handle the situation while he tends to his experiments on Han Suna. Lee Yoon-ho, Namsan, and Choi Ji-won descend into the basement cells to liberate Lee Yoon-ho's comrades, only to discover them transformed into frenzied zombies. In a desperate struggle, they open fire, ultimately quelling the mutated threat. With disruptions intensifying, Yang Jisoo urges the residents to remain calm and confined to their apartments. He also confronts Namsan's team, demanding their immediate departure. Undeterred, they press forward to rescue Han Suna, confronting any opposition in their path. Namsan navigates to the working section, learning that the children are housed on the 8th floor. Determined, he proceeds alone, while Lee Yoon-ho and Yang Jisoo provide cover in other sections. Sergeant Kwon, one of Yang Jisoo's loyalists, attempts to sway Lee Yoon-ho to their side during the chaos. When she refuses, he injures her and callously tosses her out of a window. Meanwhile, Choi Ji-won storms into the classroom, neutralizing a soldier and taking the teacher captive, coercing her to lead him to the laboratory. Despite his offers for the children to flee, they remain passive amidst the turmoil. As Namsan ascends the stairs, he confronts Sergeant Kwon. Despite delivering powerful blows, Sergeant Kwon remains resilient. Fortunately, Namsan seizes broken glass from a window frame and manages to decapitate him. Meanwhile, during the experiment on Han Suna, Yang Jisoo extracts the necessary substance and injects himself with it. However, he quickly begins to feel unwell. Han Suna, miraculously conscious, reveals that she didn't consume the water provided by Yang Jisoo, explaining why the serum isn't working as intended. Yang Jisoo, driven by desperation, attempts to attack Han Suna, but Choi Ji-won and the teacher intervene. Despite Choi Ji-won's efforts, he is overwhelmed when one of the soldiers attacks him. Recognizing the need to flee, Yang Jisoo orders his henchmen to retrieve his daughter's head, intending to escape. Namsan bursts into the laboratory and wounds the teacher, who pleads with Yang Jisoo to inject her with the serum for immortality. Disregarding her plea, Yang Jisoo hurls a grenade before departing the building. The children emerge into the courtyard, reuniting with their parents amid explosions rocking the house. As the doctor emerges from the house, enraged parents swarm him, demanding answers regarding the fate of their children. Yang Jisoo, consumed by fury, rebukes them for their ingratitude before seizing a weapon and firing indiscriminately at anyone who crosses his path. But suddenly, Yang Jisoo notices in horror that one of the shots damaged his precious suitcase containing his daughter. Refusing to accept defeat, he vows to resurrect whatever remains of his daughter at any cost. However, his condition deteriorates rapidly, his skin marred by terrible ulcers. Meanwhile, Nam-san helps Choi Ji-won and Han Suna regain their composure, and together, they escape the fiery chaos. Along the way, they encounter Lee Yun-ho, and united, they step out into the yard. Confronting Yang Jisoo, Han Suna asserts that he never succeeded in saving anyone, while the doctor blames their intrusion for ruining his plans. As he raises his weapon, Nam-san swiftly takes him out with a shot to the head. With their enemies vanquished, clouds gather overhead as the long-awaited rain begins. Lee Yun-ho expresses a desire to start anew in the house, and the trio returns to the bus district, resuming their old lives. In due time, a woman adorned with jewels reappears at the market, determined to win the heart of the brave hunter Nam-san, marking the beginning of a new chapter for them all. Do you believe the mad doctor's relentless pursuit to save his daughter justified his extreme actions? Share your insights in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking discussions. See you in our next video.